Arsenal FC 0, West Ham United 2. Hardly a surprising result. Declan Rice obviously got on the score sheet after a little bit of light-hearted toing and froing with the away end. I was right in the middle of that and I couldn't help but laugh, to be fair. I think Declan takes it very well indeed, as West Ham fans were giving a rendition of "You should have signed for a big club." Quite good, really, really good banter that. And I think one that still gets up the Arsenal fans' noses. Not that it's difficult to do that. Of course, a thoroughly organised-ish performance from West Ham gave very little indeed going forward, and Arsenal didn't exactly have to get out of sort of third or fourth gear to win the game. But it's a bit of a bleak indictment of where West Ham United are and have been over recent months. We didn't get steamrolled, so I'm taking that as a positive. I'm Will Pugh. This is the We Are West Ham podcast. I'm joined as ever, as I have been almost every week for the last 6 years, I think now. James Jones, could be even longer than that. Who knows where we first met and locked eyes across that small little studio in Love Sport Radio in Southwark all those years ago. God, I can't remember the year either. I know it's pre-COVID. How are you, mate? How's it going? We lost 2-0 at Arsenal at the weekend. Not really surprising. Update me. Thoughts, feelings, emotions. What's going on?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks, mate. Obviously back in the UK after a couple of weeks in Spain, where I was recording the last two. It's freezing, so that's not good compared to where I was.
Winter is here, mate.
It was the last thing I did in Spain before I got the flight home on Saturday night. So I watched that in a bar in Spain, the Arsenal game.
Oh, the game, right.
And not really surprised, really. I was actually quite content with, up until Declan Rice scored, I was like, we're doing all right here. We're containing them. We're doing okay. Yes, we've not attacked and we haven't shot or done anything of note, but other than defend and pretty much contain them. And you just knew that a few months ago we probably would have been 3-0 down within 15 minutes, given how much they would have had the ball.
Totally.
There was one bit where they flashed the stats up and it was like we'd had 15% possession or something. And it was just like, oh God. But yeah, I'm not overly concerned about it. It's not a game in the situation we're in now. It's not a game where we're like, oh, that was a missed opportunity.
It doesn't define the season, does it?
No, it was literally the actual definition of a free hit.
Not that we took any swings.
No, it's just just get this game out of the way. We've had a good result at Everton a few days before. Get this one out of the way, and then we got a few more attractive fixtures on paper, at least, coming up after the international break. So, yeah, not unexpected. And like you said at the beginning, we didn't get whacked, so that is a bonus, I think.
Yeah, it is somewhat bleak to sort of think in those terms, but I think that's just it's where we are at the moment. We've made what I consider to be a positive move in getting rid of Graham Potter, and an even more positive one in replacing him with Nuno Espirito Santo. A rarity in managerial terms, in that he's out of work not because he did terribly at his last job, because his owner made some absolutely balmy decisions. And let's be honest, let's just call it as it is, James, particularly you, because you hate Nottingham Forest so much. Quite funny to see them being in a position where an ex-Tottenham manager is about to get sacked again, barely 7 games into his Nottingham Forest career. And it's it's almost nice, isn't it, when such a ridiculous decision from Marinakis, Nuno, clearly a good manager. It's almost nice to see it backfire, isn't it? It's nice to see a bit of justice in the world every now and then, because it sort of would have been a bit annoying, wouldn't it, if Postecoglou had sort of taken them to the next level. It's nice to sort of see a bit of almost payback for doing, if you do stupid things, stupid things happen to you or bad things happen.
Couldn't happen to a nicer club as well, to be fair. I mean, it's actually quite funny, because there was a point when I was like, we should just go and get Ange. Why not? Be a laugh, wouldn't it? And now I'm like, cool, we've had a right touch here. We had a right touch. So yeah, I'm looking from afar, going, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to it, and I hope they don't sack him. They've got to give him time. Give him time, Forest. Give him time.
Like
You
a
never know.
season, the full
You know,
season.
yeah, like he always goes. He always wins something in his second season. He
Yeah.
can win the championship
The
next year, boys. It's fine. It's fine. He's got it in the bag already. He's already won the championship next year. Keep him in there. He'll get you back up.
Imagine the scenes, Nottingham Forest fans lifting the championship trophy at the City Ground after all these years.
Unbelievable.
Oh dear. Yeah, on Nuno, James, like I say, I totally agree with you, and I think it's silly to get, sort of caught up in the fact that we didn't do a lot going forward. Look, better teams than West Ham will go to Arsenal and lose 2-0 this season. That's for sure. We've been steamrolled several occasions this season, a few last season as well, in a fashion where, it's just like
By worse teams.
Yeah, by far worse teams, yeah, and at home. And it was just annoying. But and what you said was spot on. I think we did contain Arsenal. I think none of their opportunities they had prior to the Declan Rice chance. I can't remember when Eze missed the sitter. I'm not sure if that was before or after.
That's before.
Was it before? Okay. Well, that was the only time where I was like, "Ooh!" But all of their opportunities seemed to be they'd like carve out space for themselves. Their tactics seemed to be have a shot from somewhere where it's almost impossible to go in, but just smash it at the goalie really hard, knowing he won't be able to catch it, and then try and get the rebound. They seem to have loads of rebounds, and obviously just one of them really flukily fell into Declan Rice's path, and he did his best to spoon it over the bar, and it just about snuck in under the crossbar, despite his best efforts. I must admit, I just didn't find Arsenal to be as exciting, but a few of my Arsenal fans, mate, saying, "Oh yeah, that's what we do this season. We're more professional. We're not going to be as exciting, but we're going to be more effective."
Grow up. And let's not forget, and I know we'll get into it, that the penalty weren't a penalty. It was outside the area, so it should have been 1-0. You're already looking at me like, no, it was a penalty, mate. It was.
Well, no, the only reason I say, friend of mine and colleague and former guest on the We Are West Ham podcast, former Premier League referee Mark Halsey, insist it was. I did text him immediately and say, you need to be removed from all social media and all being put in front of a camera forever, because that is the most farcical thing I've ever heard. But upon review, he probably is right.
No, I'm not having it.
No, but I don't think it's subjective, mate. I think it's just if contact is made when your foot's on the line of the penalty box, that counts as
it was outside. It was outside the penalty box.
No, but there's literal picture evidence of his foot being on the line.
No, the first contact was made outside the area.
So. Yes, I know, but when challenges carry on into the box, it's a pen.
No, I'm not having
it. Mate, we lose integrity on this podcast when we don't acknowledge truth. When West Ham been hard done by, we'll be the first to foot in. But
and we've been hard done by a lot. We've been hard done by a lot. I mean, don't get me started.
I think we should be more focusing, maybe, James, on the fact what a clumsy challenge it was from the world's greatest left back, who's on the verge of winning the Ballon d'Or, according to some fans, including you, James Jones.
I've never said that. Don't put words
words to that effect, mate. I've read between the lines.
Penalty or no penalty, I think it was overall a far more professional performance than Arsenal's performance. Let's put it that way.
Because I only won because of a fluky deflection and a soft penalty.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what you just said there about what Arsenal fans are saying, that they win professionally. Come on, that's just a routine win. That's not a professional win.
Isn't that what it is by its nature?
No, we lose professionally now. That's what we've got, right? We lose professionally, and so I don't know. When the full-time whistle went, I kind of just went about my day. It was just like, well, that wasn't, if anything, that wasn't entirely unexpected. The only unexpected thing is that we didn't concede more than 2, and for me, that's a bonus. So we move on now, and that's it. We forget that happened, and it's just a little bit annoying that we haven't stopped them from winning the league for a 3rd consecutive year. It's a bit frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, still the home game, mate.
It would have been amazing, wouldn't it? if we'd have done it again. We could still do it again, to be fair. But
you know what, mate? I was on the way to the game, sort of. I went and met one of my Arsenal mates in the pub beforehand, me and my dad, and it was one of those where we were sort of going, well, there's no way in 1,000 years we'll win at the Emirates 3 times in a row. So we've already, almost sort of like, what are we doing here? What's the point?
Yeah.
And sure enough, we really didn't lay a glove on them. But like you say, onwards and upwards. Brentford at home next. Boycott coming up, but an international break before that. Big Jared gets picked again. Thomas Tuchel's finally seen the light, I think. And,
well, he'll get some time, won't he? Because Madueke's injured. Farcical that Madueke started the last two England internationals over Bowen.
I agreed the first time. I must admit, he played well last time, didn't he? I mean, it was Andorra. You could do it.
I mean, he did mug me off because I tweeted, "This is ridiculous. Like, why? How is Bowen not getting a start for England? This second game running, he's not started." And about 3 minutes later, Madueke scores, and my Twitter is literally just pummeled by Arsenal fans.
Yeah.
It's like, grow up! You didn't even want him to sign. You had petitions stop trying to stop the club from signing him, for crying out loud.
Totally. So, yeah. On that note, by the way, James, I do sort of our We Are West Ham at We Are _ West Ham on Twitter if you fancy following us. The notifications on that do pop up or go mental quite regularly, as I fear they will do for large parts of this season. Thanks to you, James. I'm pinning it right on you, despite the fact I agreed with you wholeheartedly at the time. We've pulled Tottenham's pants down, £55 million for goodness.
Has it gone off again? Did he go off again the weekend after he got another goal and assist?
But he scored. He's obviously scored. Wait until he scored until Leeds were down to 10 men, didn't he? He's only good when the going's easy. He's nowhere to be seen when the going gets tough.
Flat track
exactly.
Bully. Nightmare.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, Tottenham fans quite enjoying that. But again, then it's funny because every time he has a bad game, they go off as well, and they're like, "Yeah, maybe these two were right." But I kind of am like half looking forward to being a Tottenham meme for the rest of the season. I literally never ever would hope injury on a player ever. But if Kudus, you sort of one of those things. I don't want him to get injured, obviously. But
I hope he gets cramped in the first
really
minute
bad.
of a game.
Yeah, severe cramp that keeps him out for the season.
Yeah.
Bad cramp. Or just like starts having a stinker and gets dropped. That's what I want. But yeah, no, very, very funny indeed. Right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Stick around with us for the show. We hope you do. Make sure, as well as that, you follow us on socials at We Are _ West Ham on Twitter. We Are West Ham Pod on Instagram. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search We Are West Ham Podcast and you'll find us over there. You'll find the podcast in full. You get the videos. However, they obviously do only go up a day after all of the We Are West Ham podcast, even Patreon members. And you can subscribe there to get every podcast a day earlier than everyone else and listen to them free of adverts. How good does that sound? And it's for less than like £4 a month. I paid about £3.75 today, James, for a black Americano. A black coffee was £3.75 in central London. Farcical. So for around that sort of money, you get 2 podcasts a week, a reaction show and a opposition view ahead of every game. Plus, you get all of those things a day before everyone else and without adverts. And you get the feel-good factor of supporting me and James Jones and the We Are West Ham podcast going as it has been, James. I think 7 years, just doing some quick maths there. So, I don't know what more of a excellent value exchange there is in the market these days, Jonesy.
It's literally the best money anyone will ever spend.
Precisely. It's the bargain of the century.
It is the bargain of the century, just to listen to us to try and make sense of the chaos that is supporting West Ham every week.
Exactly.
Just pay the money. Don't be tight. Come on.
It's the opposite. I mean, I was sort of appealing to people's better nature there, Jonesy. But if you're going to the tight option, fair enough. I would say it's the opposite end of the value spectrum than the Mohamed Kudus to Tottenham transfer. If paying £55 million to West Ham for Mohamed Kudus, who we all know is going to flop after trying to impress, showing off for one season, then the other end of that is becoming a Patreon member at patreon.com/wearewesthampodcast. Anyway, stay with us. International break coming up, as we mentioned, so there'll be no opposition view until the Thursday before that Brentford game, Monday night at London Stadium. Lots to talk about, as well as on the pitch around that one, of course, because there is the planned boycott for that game. I've had quite a few messages actually asking for my opinions, what my stance on it, whether or not I'll be going to the game, what I think of it more broadly. So make sure you stick around for the Opposition View podcast. James and I will do a podcast about that ahead of that Brentford game. But for tonight, we'll a bit more reaction on the Arsenal game, chat about where we think we are generally, and maybe we'll touch on Brentford and the usual other load of waffle. So stay with us. James, when I was in the away end on Saturday, there was one moment, as I say, Declan Rice had been getting the "You Should Have Signed for a Big Club." Great song, that. Great song. It's just nice and simple. Nice and simple. Yep. He thinks he has. We all know he wanted to go to Chelsea, but they were a bit of a basket case at the time. No other. Man City had Rodri, so he wasn't going to be able to go there. Arsenal was his only option. He decided he wanted to leave West Ham. He wanted to go and get some bigger money. So all the Arsenal fans banging on, going, "Oh, he picked us because he thought this was his best chance to win the league." No, it wasn't. You were his third choice behind Manchester City and Chelsea. Couldn't go to Chelsea because they were chaos that summer. Man City have Ballon d'Or winning Rodri. So he's like, "Oh, fine. I'll go to Arsenal." Only a slight step up from West Ham, he's rumoured to have said under his breath, as he had to sign at the Emirates. But I do find, as irritating as I now find his demeanour to be, I found it a little bit West Ham. He was just sort of a little bit too nicey, wasn't it? And I do sort of find it funny when he now plays the bad man. I know he sort of does it in jest, which I do like. But when he sort of tries to do the old, I'm cock of the walk now, it's like, come on, Declan, like that's not you. You're pretending. But what I do like about him a lot is that West Ham fans give him a considerable amount of stick, but I feel it's on the whole delivered in fairly good nature. You should have signed for a big club. We all know is aimed more at the Arsenal fans rather than it is Declan Rice, because we know sooner rather than later, when Arsenal fail to win any trophies again this season, Declan Rice will eventually sign for a big club, won't he? Because just as towards the end he probably felt that he was a bit better than West Ham, he's on the way now, isn't he, to where he's going to be better than if he's not already, he'll soon be better than Arsenal, just as, William Saliba, he signed that new contract. We all know that's just to confirm his value when he eventually goes to Real Madrid and actually signs for a big club. What I did like, though, when he was getting all of that grief, Declan Rice at one point came over to take a corner, and he was, to be fair to him, he was looking right into the away end. Everyone was giving him a bit of grief, and then he had a little smile. And I just think it's nice. I think it's a nice moment. It's a nice sort of. It's where it's almost like where it should be. Do you know what I mean? There's no, obviously people are a little bit miffed, but the bloke gave us some good years, won a trophy with us, left after that, and he hasn't been overly derogatory about the club, has he? There's a few things at West Ham are like, all right, when he said the winning a quarter final was the best night of his career, probably just because he scored the free kicks. So I mean, it's nice. It was quite funny. And then when he scored, obviously he sort of does the sort of half non-celebration, the half body language gesturing towards West Ham to the away end. It was quite annoying that he scored, wasn't it? But I think he handles the whole thing kind of in the right way, if you know what I mean.
I think he does.
It's hard to feel too much malice towards him, is what I'm saying, I suppose.
No, I mean, from my perspective, and I know there will be West Ham fans out there that don't particularly agree, but from my perspective, I'd almost love him because of what he gave us. He was captain of a European Cup winning team for me, and 3 years before he left, we were like, this kid's world class and he's going to go to the very top. We knew we didn't like we knew we weren't going to have him for that long, and I think we probably were quite lucky to have him for that additional season, because there were a lot of rumours that summer. There were a lot of rumours that summer.
No, yeah, I know, but I sort of don't. I think we were worse that season than we were the year
before. But his, in terms of just his overall ability as a footballer, it was 3 years before he left. You could tell, just knew he was going to eventually.
Much.
But you knew
he's not even world class now.
Yeah, but he's still got a long way to go, right? And
when he signs for a big club,
exactly, yeah. And I just think that we're very lucky to have him, and he won a European Cup with us, our first trophy in 40 odd years. He was the captain. But obviously, yeah, like you've mentioned it, some of the things that he's come out and said since he signed for Arsenal, like I didn't know football could be played this way, or whatever he said.
Yeah.
Mikel Arteta's opened my eyes up to how you play football. He's like, shut up, mate. Like, you just don't need to say that sort of stuff.
But that's only because, like he used to do with us, he plays to the crowd. That's what I find a little cringy about him. He plays the crowd too much. You're like, leave it out, mate. Like, he used to do it to us as well as the Arsenal fans.
And I know Arsenal ended up being his only option, but the frustrating thing for me, I think he went on the overlap with Gary Neville while he was still at West Ham, and I think Neville asked him, like, what do you want to achieve in your career? And he's like, I want to win it all. I want to win it all. And so then he goes and signs for a club that hasn't won it all and will never win it all. And since he signed for them, hasn't won anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, apart from the Community Shield in his first game, it's like, that's not even a trophy. That's a dinner plate.
Won the Audi Cup or something.
Like, come on. So, and he's not going to win anything this year, because eventually Liverpool will just sort themselves out and then steamroll the rest of the league. And it's going to be great to watch. I'm looking forward to it. And after 3 years of being there and not winning the trophy, I mean, if I'm Declan Rice, I'm going, I need to go.
But it's weird, really, because like Man City could do with him, couldn't they? Now, but
yeah,
Arsenal because I disagree. I don't think he's world class. I think if he's not English, I think he's amazing. I think he's just that one rung down from being that level.
I think he has the potential to go up a rung. If he plays for a bigger club that wins stuff, I think he does get there. I genuinely do believe he gets there.
But the argument would be from some is that he's supposed to take Arsenal to that level. But he's supposed to drag them up.
I agree with that.
If he's world class, then they would be winning stuff and getting closer than they are with him in the team.
Yeah, but bless them, they've had lots of injuries, haven't they, recently? Lots of injuries.
Massive squad.
Just bless them. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's not Declan Rice's fault. Maybe it's just they keep getting injuries. And Mikel Arteta needs more.
And don't forget the referees are against them.
Exactly. And Mikel Arteta's got to get more light bulbs out in the dressing room and stuff like that, and
steal more of his players' phones on nights out.
Yeah, he's got to do that. He's got to do more of those very weird things that he does. If they're going to win something, because he's not being weird enough. Be more weird, Nick.
Yeah, Jesus. So yeah, it was quite annoying to see him score, but all in all, sort of adds to the circus of it, I suppose. One thing I found absolutely infuriating, James, about that game, and this seemed to happen at both ends of the pitch, was that, all right, I know we didn't offer anything going forward. Fine. We'll talk about Fullkrug in a minute. I still find it really difficult to hear people proper running him down, because I'm like, well, what striker is going to do anything when they never get the ball? So that's a bit annoying. I liked Callum Marshall coming on, get onto all of that. But one thing that really, really irritated me was I thought we defended as a defensive line pretty well, right? Really, really well, particularly in the first half. But what I was getting absolutely fuming about was any time the ball would come in, Arsenal would get into a position and they'd either cross it or have a shot or whatever. We seemed to always defend it first time really, really well. And then it'd be like, right, it's nodded out. Right, where's Fernandez or Magassa or Paqueta to scoop it up or at least enter into a duel? It's like, nope, absolutely nowhere to be seen. Straight to an Arsenal player, recycle, reset. And it seemed to happen so often. And Nuno, I mean, he couldn't have been softer on it after the game, really. He said, yeah, we could have improved on second balls. So what on earth are you talking about? Every single time we headed or knocked the ball away in defence, Arsenal won about 1,000 percent of the second balls. I just felt like every single time we were nowhere. It was like the midfield were nowhere to be sort of scooping up or challenging for the ball. And it happened on the handful of occasions we actually got in their half as well. It was exactly the same as the other end. It's like, well, where are the midfielders then? Because if they're not at the other end scrapping for the second balls when we're swinging them in, and they're not scooping them up when we're clearing them either, where are you? And I just feel, I think maybe that's a Magassa thing. I mean, Fernandez he's a good player and I really like him. Paqueta's just Paqueta, isn't he? He's just like, I still am convinced that when he leaves, we'll get better, weirdly. I know he's such a Rolls Royce of a football player, but I think he does enough things that balance out any of the good stuff he does. I just think, and even if they're invisible things, whether it's he feels like he works hard when it's going to be obvious on the cameras that he works hard, but often he just seems nowhere near the play when you want him to be. Every good, amazing touch he does, or silky bit of like control, and then a little dinky little pass, he gives the ball away easily too often. Yeah, and I just sort of that Magassa just seems like he needs another 4 weeks of pre-season, like on his own, to do pre-season training in order to be fit enough to be like start a Premier League game, play 90 minutes. And it's at Everton, he just looked absolutely shagged out after about 10 minutes. Yeah. Just looked absolutely miles off it. And I guess Nuno, we're sort of seeing Nuno using these games as his pre-season, and maybe there's just an acceptance. Well, it might take 4 or 5 weeks for him to be up to speed, but that's the quickest way of doing it rather than sling him in the resis or whatever.
Yeah, and I wrote my BBC Sport column this week that actually this international break's come at the right time for that sort of work to go down because I think we've got 8 players out in international duty.
Is he one of them? He's not, is he?
He's not. No. There's the players that are there. It's Bowen, Souček,
Mavropanos,
Diouf.
Marshall's gone to Northern Ireland.
Marshall. So I think there's 8 all in. And I wrote in the column that actually the guys that are going to be on international duty aren't really the guys that need the work, right? It's because they're like the star players of the team. They're the ones stepping up every single week, right? Maybe Mavropanos, maybe not. But
right, you ready? Sorry, just quickly before you carry on. Bowen, Mavropanos, Diouf, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Lucas Paqueta, Mads Hermansen.
Well, yeah, fair enough.
Mads Hermansen. Big Super Thomas Souček and Callum Marshall. Yeah, sorry. Carry on, James.
So the next 2 weeks allows Nuno to work with those sort of players, the likes of Magassa, the likes of Fernandez, that probably need a little bit of help in terms of midfield shaping this new system. Doesn't need Paqueta there because Paqueta does Paqueta. It's just Paqueta, isn't he? He's just do his own thing. But the other two brand new, shiny new midfielders that we bought, they need to work, right? So this next 2 weeks allows him to work with players like that, with the strikers, and get it working so that when the internationals come back, those players, the other players, are a little bit more up to speed, and we can go into Brentford looking a little bit more sharper and a little bit better tactically, I think, and probably from where Magassa is concerned, a little bit more fit as well, a little bit like just a little more match fitness. So I think it's come at the perfect time, I think, for Nuno.
Yeah, I quite agree. Yeah, I saw a video, James. By the way, I'm properly in with Nuno. Like,
yeah,
honestly, I just got a bit of excitement back again, mate. After
before you go on, I think I completely agree. I get it, but it's mental that you've said that directly after a game in which you've not had a single shot on target.
Yeah, but it's Arsenal way, isn't it?
I know, yeah, but just look at it and go, we've not had a single shot on target, but I am absolutely buzzing about this.
I think the Everton game was more so. I think that was really they're onto a good thing this season, particularly at home. Hadn't conceded. We went there and we were a better team, certainly for the second half. And I don't know, I just sort of feel like there's just a bit of, even though I honestly don't think, I think this season, I don't think we're going to see this drastic turnaround. I just don't think the squad's good enough for that. I think we'll probably limp to anywhere between 12th and 15th be totally unremarkable. If I'm honest, I don't think we're going to see amazing things for the rest of this season. I don't know. I just sort of feel maybe it's just more because we're not going to get steamrolled, just look like a half decent professional team. That's what I'm so bored of, and everyone else must be as well, right? Just that like amount of games are just over, and you don't feel confident going into them. Yeah, and I know what you mean. I know why you're saying that, but I just I watched this video on socials earlier. I can't remember the account off the top of my head. I don't really know how Instagram works well enough if I can find out stuff that I've liked previously, but it was basically just this video of Nuno. I remember the account, James. I think it was called "Keep It on the Deck" because that made me laugh. Right, hang on, let me have a look. And it was basically
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah,
where it's him in training, right?
Keep it on the deck. Yeah, literally just him in training, and all he was really doing was being a little bit encouraging towards the players. I'm going to play you a little clip now. I think I'm allowed fair use. Tells me I'm allowed to use about 10 seconds without getting sued. So, but I'm crediting you. Keep it on the deck. 191,000 followers. The world's #1 online football training resource. Yeah, keep it on the deck on Instagram. So I hope you don't mind me using a little bit of this audio. Let's just play it now.
The goalkeeper, after the goalkeeper, we cannot use him anymore. Find solution. We have frontal support. We finish. Got it? The balls always start from one side, then I change you and I give possession to you guys.
This is a West Ham United forward.
There you go. If I'm honest, I don't think he said anything that exciting. He was using words that weren't even English. Keep it frontal. I don't know what that means. With frontal lobe in your brain. Maybe that's what he means. He's so cerebral. He's telling players what part of their brain to use when they're on the ball. But yeah, I'm in. I'm really, really in. I think I remember when he first came to the Prem, I think he was at Wolves. He was really what's the word? I don't want to say stoic because I know you're a big stoicism fan. But he was really almost sort of like quite abrupt and gruff and like one word answers in interviews and that sort of thing. He seems to have loosened up a little bit now. And he actually seems like a really I don't know, I see him smiling a lot more. I think he's had his teeth done. So maybe it's he just wants to show off his new gnashers. But I don't know, I just feel like he's just got a bit about him, a bit of clout, where you never really felt that way with Lopetegui and Potter. Yeah, and I just again, I mean, maybe it's a bit of a bleak sort of situation, really, where I'm just pleased that we didn't get steamrolled. But I do feel about as good as you possibly can after a 2-0 defeat.
Yeah, I still feel the same as I did last week. Like I
sad that J-Lo's left.
No, I don't. I can't believe that's the thing. Like, stop putting
Lopetegui's #1 fan, James Jones.
Yeah. That's why I was in Spain. I was looking for him.
Please come back.
Give him a hug.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm still exactly the same as I said last week. I'm pleased we've got him. I think he's going to be good for us. I think just the immediate impact he's had, just not even in terms of like just major results. Obviously, he's only been in there for 2 games, but just overall like confidence just throughout the club, positivity around the club, and throughout the fan base as well. Most importantly, I think it's just given this like the injection of that we really needed in the time of desperation. We needed something to change. The whole club was on its backside, wasn't it?
Yeah.
From players to manager to fans, it was just on its backside. And within 2 weeks, not even that, things have improved markedly, and we can now start, I think, to look forward, which is good.
Totally, mate. Yeah, I totally agree. What do you make of the striker situation then? Because obviously we've seen what he'd done with James Ward-Prowse, which is just immediately eject him from I don't even think he's allowed in East London anymore. Been ejected from Rush Green.
One of the nicest players in the Premier League, and he's just been like banished.
Like for the second time.
It's like you couldn't imagine James Ward-Prowse annoying anyone, and clearly he's annoying Nuno.
No, I mean, he annoyed lots of our fans this season. Lots of
Yes,
messages we've got.
but like on a personal level, like I wasn't
Oh, no,
personally
quite.
like annoyed to the point where I wouldn't have him anywhere near me. I'd be like, you've not been playing very well, James. But anyway, fancy a pint. Like
Fancy a game
Nuno's,
of golf.
he's clearly done something to Nuno, and Nuno's like, I don't want you anywhere near me, son. Get away. Back off.
It's a bit peculiar, isn't it? It's like I sort of know what you mean. He obviously seems like a nice fella, and you'd like to think that football's such a ruthless game that, and I'm sure Nuno would say it's nothing personal. He's just not for me. He wasn't for him at Forest. He's not for me at West Ham, and I want to make that clear. That he's not a part of the squad, and the players I've got, they are. But what do you make of this centre forward situation then, where we've got I'm interested to hear what you think about what he's trying to do to Fullkrug, whether he's trying to prove a point to the board or whether he's trying to say to Fullkrug, no, you're my man. We're paying you a lot of money. You can do 90 minutes every week. I'm giving you a chance to prove it for a bit. And then he appears to be doing sort of giving Callum Wilson the James Ward-Prowse light treatment, where he's going, obviously he plays starts Fullkrug twice in a row, gives him a big old chunk of minutes, and then it also brings Callum Marshall on and Freddie Potts. Great. Well, it feels like even that, right? I was like, clever. We've pretty much lost this game. No one's really going to slaughter you for that. So, bit of positive PR there. That's going to get some of the fans on side just by seeing the youngsters. I mean, Callum Marshall, bless him, all he did was sprint around chasing shadows for a bit. But he got on the pitch at the Emirates, blah, blah, blah. Freddie Potts as well did well, and lots of fans calling to see a bit more of him on the reg. And I will say, I'd just as rather see Freddie Potts on the pitch as I would James Ward-Prowse, both like ability-wise, and not just because he's an academy product. But what do you make of that centre forward situation with the Fullkrug, Wilson, Marshall? Marshall's tertiary, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And I suppose it's difficult to tell because we're only 2 games in. It might be that.
What are you tired of publicised now, James? We can't skip 8 games down the line, do a podcast.
No, but
right, your opinion now, son.
Right, well, let me finish my sentence, mate. It might be that Wilson starts against Brentford. Wilson then gets a couple of games, and then he works it out. Then maybe Marshall gets a couple of games. I doubt it very much, but I have been quite surprised at the amount of minutes that Fullkrug's got. But you were right. You said it earlier. Like, what was he supposed to do when he doesn't get anywhere near the ball because we haven't been in possession of the ball, especially against a team like Arsenal where we had like 15% possession. Like Wilson could have been on the pitch and it would have been the same thing. Marshall came on the pitch and chased shadows for 15 minutes or whatever it was. So against Arsenal, it's difficult to really call it. I didn't think Fullkrug had a particularly bad game against Everton. I don't see a scenario where if Wilson was on the pitch, the impact would have been any different. Yes, Wilson is. I think Wilson's probably Wilson's movements are a little bit more clever. But
you've just watched the Nottingham Forest video. That's all you're thinking of. You're thinking of his goal at Nottingham Forest.
Well, the guy has scored almost 100 Premier League goals as well. Let's not forget. So, the guy knows how to score a goal in the Premier League, right?
Yeah.
So
he was in your year at school, though. That's the only problem.
Yeah, well,
close enough.
He's knocking on. To be fair, bless
exactly.
him. To be fair, so was Fullkrug, I think. So yeah, I don't know. I think the reality is, right, Nuno's got 2 tired strikers who are in their 30s and that are both, because of the stages of the career that they're in, are very limited in terms of what we can do with them. I've seen a lot of people call for Chris Wood to come in. Oh yeah, let's get Chris Wood in. He'll sort it out. Exactly the same striker. Exactly the same striker as Fullkrug and Wilson. Exactly the same age. Not going to do anything long term. Yeah. Like, we need to work something out. So I just think he's probably just having a little, just tinkering with the striker situation.
All I would say is Niclas Fullkrug is the same age as Harry Kane. Chris Wood's a year
Yeah,
older
yeah.
and is the same age as Callum Wilson.
Yeah, but like, look, Fullkrug is same age as Harry Kane, but looks about 10 years older because he's been.
I don't really care what he looks like. We got
That's why
Andy
his
Irving,
age-
Andy Irving on the
To be
bench. He
fair,
looks about
yeah.
65.
Yeah, to be fair. Yeah, I just think it's too soon to make a judgment in terms of what he's trying to do, because it could be that if Wilson doesn't start against Brentford, then I'd be like, okay, what's going on here? Like, is Wilson now offended Nuno somehow because he
As he
deserves
James
to
Ward
go?
Prowsed him.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if Wilson gets a crack, given that Fullkrug, he didn't have a bad game against Everton, but probably could have been a little bit more effective in stages. Maybe then Wilson gets the crack against Brentford and against Leeds, and then he makes a decision based on that, which would be quite unfair on Fullkrug, given that one of his games was against Arsenal, where we didn't see the ball.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I think people are easy to jump on him, but I don't think he's done anything bad. I don't think he's done anything.
No.
I just don't think he's done anything because he hasn't really had much of a opportunity. No. Honestly, I was watching him a bit closer on the weekend, and it must be so frustrating and boring to play in a game like that, like as a striker. And I think more so in the Premier League these days, even Erling Haaland, right? I know he gets a lot more service and opportunities. His game is like constant. Like some games, he'll have like 12 touches in a game. Like 4 of them will go in. But it must be so dull because all you're doing constantly is making runs or decoy runs or whatever. And then like, a handful of times you get like, if you're Fullkrug on the weekend, you maybe get a few random long balls that you're expected to hold up against 2 of the world's best centre halves on your own with no one anywhere near you because Paqueta's like sauntering over from the touchline or whatever. I really find it difficult to listen to people who are really against him. But I think the problem is he's a striker who suits a team who are good at football and dominant in possession and dominant off the ball and the better team. Like Mikel Antonio and Marko Arnautovic were of that mould where they were excellent for teams like West Ham because they could do a bit more on their own. They didn't rely as much on players around them and proper service, did they?
Well, they were both a lot more explosive and a lot more pace.
A bit stronger.
You'd expect Fullkrug, a bloke of his size, should be able to hold the ball up probably a little bit better than he has done.
Though.
He's a bit of a lump.
Well, skinny.
No, you've seen the size of his arms. Mate.
No, you're just thinking it's because he's got a beard.
No, it's because we call him the big German.
It annoys me. He's 1 meter and 89 centimeters. I've got no idea what that is in English, but so look. What do you reckon he is height wise?
You'd think he's got to be over 6 foot, and he's
6 foot 2 inches.
He's built as well. Like he's not
high as you.
I'm not 6'2". But yeah, we probably need someone with a little bit more explosiveness.
So, all right. So, what do you think? He goes out again in January and tries to buy someone else? We can't bring Chris Wood in.
No, I'd be very annoyed if you brought Chris Wood in. But I think we do need to probably go out and get someone in January. But who that is, I don't know. I'm not going to start speculating. No,
all right, fine. One question before we move on, James. Has anyone ever said you look like Chris Wood?
No, I've had Harry Kane for many, many years. Not with this beard, though, to be fair. But I once got asked if I was Harry Kane. But it was when he was in Tottenham's youth team and hadn't actually made it where he is now. And so I was like, sorry, who? He was like, do you play football? I was like, yeah. And he was like, what, for Tottenham? I was like, absolutely not. Why would I
would never do that. No matter
I would rather not. And he was like, oh, sorry. I thought you were Harry Kane. I was like, sorry. I don't even know who that geezer is. Had to Google him. And I was like, oh, he's a youth player. And then a few years later, he's like banging in 30 goals a season in the Premier League.
And no one's mistaken you for him anymore.
Yeah, no, but I've had a few people when I've been on even clips that we put on social media from this. People going,
why is Harry Kane slagging off Kudus?
It's Harry Kane. No, not recently, obviously, because I've grown a beard now, like a lot older than I did 2 years ago. But that's not. I don't look older because I've grown a beard. I look older just because I've aged massively over the last 2 years.
I think I saw
but-
you put something on Instagram earlier, James, claiming you'd aged like a fine wine.
Well, no, because my Whoop band. This is not an advertisement for Whoop, but Whoop,
Your
if you are
woke
listening,
band's more like.
you can. We are open for sponsorship, Whoop. I'm an advocate of your products.
Oh, yeah, sorry for calling
my-
you woke. If you do want to sponsor.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, my Whoop band is telling me that my age currently is 40.3, and I'm only 37.3. Not even that. So it's a little bit concerning, but I just need to improve my sleep. It's telling me.
That's supporting West Ham, though, mate. Surely that'll add a few.
Yeah,
years
well, it
on you.
is. I need to improve my sleep and my resting heart rate. Don't ask me how I do that. Not get stressed out as much, but that's quite difficult at the moment, if I'm honest.
Don't you get fitter? Don't you have to get fitter for your resting heart rate to improve?
Yeah, well, that's what I'm working on. I've been in the gym. You saw my picture the other day on Instagram, looking
Mate,
absolutely sensational at the moment.
Absolutely
Unbelievable.
wham.
What a bloke. Specimen.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Exactly. Listen, James, that's been quite an enjoyable podcast. Stay with us because we'll do some quick messages and then we'll say goodbye. Agree. Decent performance without much chance of scoring. Agree every clearance went straight to Arsenal. See how it develops. Need to get the ball to Fullkrug in decent position somehow. That is Paul, who's a Patreon member of the We Are West Ham podcast at patreon.com/We Are West Ham podcast. Jim says, Will, I think you're spot on. This is in response to my immediate post-match reaction video that put on Patreon. I think you're spot on. Would have definitely taken a point at the beginning of the week from Everton away and Arsenal away. Must be getting better as we didn't concede from a corner. Nuno said on the radio that we need to improve on second balls and attacking intensity. Yes, Jim, you're right. What an understatement. But as you say, there are signs of improvement. What else have we got here, James? Thanks, by the way, for everyone getting in touch this week. Ben Orr says our season starts on the 20th of October. He's not bothered at all about the Arsenal game. What else have we got here? The stats in the Arsenal game are almost identical to the stats from February's 1-0 win, showing how fickle the game is. Same possession, shots, and effort across the game, but a three-goal swing. Very interesting indeed. Ben says only the second game we haven't let a goal in from a corner, so that's a positive. Sky Sports reporter said big issues at the back and going forward, and the middle isn't any better. Nuno has to fix a lot of areas with a squad which isn't good enough. 3 of our summer signings got relegated last season. Blimey, Ben, you sound more negative than I do, for goodness sake. It's Sullivan's cheap and cheerful approach. We finished 14th last season, and Spurs and Man United, who finished below us, have improved their squads, and I'm not sure our squad has. Walker, Peters and Diouf aren't an improvement on Soufal and Emerson at present. Couldn't agree more. Magassa isn't an improvement on on Alvarez, sorry. Fernandez isn't an improvement on Kudus, and hardly much difference between Wilson, Antonio and Ings. I've got to disagree with you there. I think Wilson probably pips those two just about, but I kind of get it. Lots of people laughing at all the positivity that's been coming out since Potter left. JD says, is Alvarez a player that comes back and is useful for Nuno, or is he gone for good? Point taken on defensive ability with Diouf. Tough matchup, but still. Can we sort of have a bit on that, James, by the way? A little bit of acknowledgement from you, because I've got a good track record in recent times of sort of making you hold your hands up and admit to when you've got things wrong. Obviously, the hardest one to do was admit that Julian Lopetegui wasn't a good manager for West Ham. J-Joe, the J-Lo fan. And now we've got that one out of the way. Are you willing to concede that actually Diouf might not be as good as defending as we thought, particularly because he gave away a clumsy penalty when we could easily have nicked an equaliser?
Yes, I agree that his defending ability could be better for a fullback. I'm not going to blame him too much for giving away a clumsy penalty. We've seen better players in the world do that. Like, it happens. Players do that. They have brain farts.
Doing it.
They're footballers. They have brain farts. It happens. Mavropanos has won a game and he's still in the team, by the
At
way.
least.
So,
Yeah. But that's not the yardstick against which defenders should be measuring themselves.
it
Is it?
shouldn't be, but it happens, right? So I'm not going to judge him on just one little brain fart. At the same time, I think what he lacks in defensive ability, he does make up for in attacking ability. And I think that shouldn't be criticised or understated. I think he can be useful. Whether long term he gets turned into more of a winger, maybe that could be a thing. But I'm not going to start going, oh yeah, everyone's proved me wrong. He's terrible, rubbish footballer. Can't believe we paid money for the kid. Like, kid's 20 years old. Give him a chance. Back off.
James, you know what? That is that is exactly what you were saying early doors when I was giving Lopetegui a load of grief. No, I'm not gonna say that just now. Give him a chance. Give him time. He needs time. James, you can call.
Yeah, the difference is with this one is Lopetegui's like 58. He's had enough time. And I was just willing to give him a little bit of time. So I was like, no, it could still work. Probably a little bit too longer than I should have done, and I hold my hands up on that one. But El Hadji Malik Diouf is 20 years old in a new country, barely speaks the language. Give him a little chance. He's got 3 assists. He's got 3 assists already. Come on.
Yeah, God knows how many opposition goals he's directly responsible. You're very similar, James, aren't you, to the West Ham board, David Sullivan and Karen Brady, who always are always quick to say how loyal they are to the managers and how they're always willing to give these people a bit of time. So I think you're very, very admirable that you're using the West Ham board as your role models.
I've never been more offended than being likened to the West Ham board. That is disgraceful, mate.
You're the David Sullivan of podcasting.
How dare you? How dare you? I'm welling up here a little bit. That's really hurt. That's like a real kick in the proverbials, that.
Right, one more page of message, James. I'm hoping things will look completely different by the next international break. We must beat Brentford and Burnley and avoid defeat against Leeds and Newcastle for me. Bournemouth look really good this season, so don't fancy that one away. Blimey, I think putting the pressure on to beat or to not lose against Newcastle is probably quite a lot. So we got Brentford at home Monday night, Leeds on the 20th, Leeds away on the 24th, which I think is a Friday. It's a very quick turnaround for poor old West Ham there. Then Newcastle at home and Burnley at home. This used to be my favourite game, James, right? Out of those 4 games, I think avoiding defeat at Newcastle is probably a bit much. I think that's quite a lot to ask. If we lose that, I wouldn't be surprised. I think a point away to Leeds would be fantastic. We should definitely beat Brentford. I think if we get 5 points out of those 4 games, I think decent, but we could squeeze 6. What are your thoughts?
Well, I said in my column that, and I only covered the next 2 games, Brentford and Leeds, that we have to get at least a win and a draw. So we have to get at least 4 points from our next 2 games, because we need to make sure that we're keeping pace with the teams above us and just not being cut adrift too far too soon. Adding the other 2, I agree with your Newcastle assessment. I think that's going to be very difficult. And Burnley, we should win that.
You're not going to go unbeaten for 4, are you?
No. And I think a point at Leeds would represent a good point. Should be Brentford at home and beat Burnley. So I'm going to go 7.
What? No, but what do you mean you're going to go 7? What, you think that should be expected?
Yeah.
You're aware of our form this season.
5 to 7 points.
Well, no, but that's not a number.
What do you mean it's not a number? It is a number. Five
2 different numbers.
Okay, so if we get 5 points,
that would be good, I think.
What does that leave us on? What, 9 points after?
It doesn't matter. Just the games as they present themselves. I don't know where it leaves us.
I think
5 points will be somewhat disappointing. I think 6. Obviously, I'd take losing away at Leeds, losing at home to Newcastle, and then beating Brentford and Burnley.
maybe. I think we should be aiming for 7.
Honestly.
Right.
Listen,
In a month's
thank you very
time,
much.
you're gonna be like, oh, you were right. You were right.
James, one thing I must ask you, I seem to have somehow lost Instagram access to the We Are West Ham podcast Instagram. So if you send us messages on there wondering why I don't read them out, that is why. And I'm extremely sorry. Is there anything in there, James, that Michael Wood's been in touch this week, chatting about Brentford? Like I say, we'll chat about Brentford next week. And the protest, the boycott, all that sort of stuff, and where we sit, we'll chat about that on the Opposition View ahead of that game. Just wondering, James, if there's any other messages in the We Are West Ham podcast chat, because we're always encouraging people to get in touch on socials, as you should do. It's at @WeAre_West Ham on Twitter. It's We Are West Ham Pod on Instagram. You can get mine and James's personals over there as well. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, We Are West Ham Podcast. And like I've said a few times already, if you fancy it, for less than £4 a month, patreon.com/We Are West Ham Podcast. Every podcast a day earlier than everyone else and without adverts. And you get to join in and pile in on the community message board as well. Get your messages read out on the podcast each and every week. Right, James, done enough filling there. We're nearly closing in on the hour mark. Anything hugely pressing that I may or may not have missed? I did have one of the Forest guests, by the way, saying, enjoy Nuno. The football will vary from exciting to deadly dull, but the guy really knows what he's doing.
Sorry, say that again. I'm just reading a lot of messages, like people are getting very annoyed with you and our Instagram. So anyway,
maybe that's because I haven't got access to it anymore. Just the stuff I say.
Just the stuff you say, mate. It's actually quite funny.
Go on then, give us a couple of the best ones. The one I just said was we have from the 1865 Nottingham Forest pod. The guys we've had on before. Enjoy Nuno. The football will vary from exciting to deadly dull, but the guy really knows what he's doing. Go on, give us a couple of Will Pugh bashing messages. Not the ones you know my rule, James. Anyone who calls me a C-bomb, they don't get read out or replied to.
Yeah, no, not this one. So you got Aaron Meads just literally got Thursday to it. Why are we doing Moyes again? So yeah, he's not happy.
I don't think we've mentioned him tonight, Aaron.
No, Mark Scott.
There you go.
Mark Scott on Friday.
Oh, he loves putting the boot into me.
He said, I've often messaged tongue in cheek, but please, 3 pleases, can Crown Prince Pugh stop mentioning Moyes? He's gone. That era is done. You mentioned Moyes more than you did our current manager. How is that relevant to today and a podcast about West Ham today? What next? We talk constantly about Ron Greenwood, maybe John Lyall. Pugh's dismissive attitude to the fan base is a disgrace. We all have opinions, and just because you choose to share yours on a podcast, it doesn't make your opinions right and other fans wrong. You use words like deluded and hypocrisy, which is frankly insulting to anyone whose opinion doesn't match yours. Talk about the here and now. Talk about the game we've just played. Have that.
Well, I mean, Mark.
I completely agree with you, mate. I completely agree. Fair play.
Mark is a long-term. What's it called? He holds me to account. Does Mark, which I absolutely admire. I got lots of time for anyone who listens, and I've got plenty of time, Mark, for anyone who shares a different view to mine. I'm just expressing my views on those opinions, as people are not shy to do about mine. Trust me, it's not an easy road to walk being a pro Moyes advocate among the West Ham fan base. So you do have to sort of accept a few critiques of my own opinion, which I'm more than happy to do. I've been called way worse than deluded or whatever other the words you mentioned there. So I just think that's part of the game. But I never swear. I'm never personally abusive towards anyone. That is just my view on some of those issues. But I haven't mentioned David Moyes this week, so how about that? That's Aaron and Mark. Hopefully you're still We Are West Ham podcast listeners. And I actually genuinely think the longer the Nuno era goes on, basically because we're going to have a Portuguese version of Moyes, that my Moyes mentions will get less and less and less. Any more, Jonesy?
Just one more, but it's from some Mark. He's under his account is called A Humble Mentalist on Instagram. It
Okay.
landed in our requests,
Yep.
which is 2 weeks ago. So I'm reading it out now because he's asked.
Apologies, Mark.
He's asked for some help, which we will get back
Right.
to you on, Mark. Sorry we've left it so long. He says, good morning, Mark from, I hope I say this right, Bochum from Germany.
Oh, yeah, Bochum. Yep.
Bochum. I wonder if you guys could give me some suggestions for some post-match pubs or locations where West Ham fans meet up. I've got tickets for my 50th birthday for the game against Sunderland in January, and I'm really looking forward to it. I love the podcast. Have a good day.
Excellent.
So that's from Mark in Germany. So we'll definitely get back to you, Mark, if you're still listening. If you haven't gone like, well, they've ignored me for the last 2 weeks, I'm not listening ever again. We will get back to you, mate.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, we sort of do it. It depends it all depends where you come from, doesn't it? Obviously, Jonesy and I used to think that the pub we went to or go to before and after most games was sort of like top secret pub because for quite a long time after it opened, no one really used to go in there. The place is absolutely chock-a-block week in, week out now. So yeah, that's not much of a secret anymore. But perhaps other than the pub we frequent, Jonesy, where else would you suggest? Obviously, the Carpenter's Arms is probably the closest to the Upton Park experience. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I'm thinking that's probably where I would suggest Mark go if he wants the match day experience with fans closest to the
old
ground.
school experience.
The old school experience, yeah, that's probably where I'd go. If you want that kind of experience, then go there.
Maybe a pre-match pint more so. Find somewhere else post.
Potentially, I mean, post.
Unless it was one, then it's good in there.
Yeah, it's difficult because
Hackney Wick, if you want the more sort of hipster, like
I'm not suggesting Hackney Wick for a hipster experience to a fan flying over from Germany. Mark doesn't want that.
But then, you got the Westfield pubs, and they're hardly like spilling over with character, aren't you? You've got Haugen, the big wooden building. You've got the Cow. The Cow's quite lively. Bat and Ball, a little bit mainstream, of course. And the secret pub. You know what is a good one, right, James? And this is a bit of a hidden gem. I think it's the Premier Inn. It's either a Premier Inn or a Holiday Inn in Westfield. No. Listen, hear me out. And you get in the lift. It's normally rammed with West Ham fans. Beer in there is good. You get a great view over the Olympic Park. Bit of hidden gem if you get in there a bit later, and you fancy a swift one on your way to the ground, all the way to another pub. That isn't bad. But one thing I will say is, Mark, wherever you go, just pick one and commit. Pick one, get there early. You get a few beers in before the queues get mad. And make sure you leave enough time to actually get to the ground because the security queues get absolutely awful on the way in. And not to be too much of a, I don't want to encourage too many people, but getting a beer in and around the ground, not terrible these days. Getting in, but the Brewdog sponsorship ruined it, Jones. You used to be able to get an Amstel in there, I think. Now it's just the Brewdog ones, and I'm not a fan. So get a beer outside or just outside the stadium. There's a little ring of places where you can get decent beers, unless you like Brewdog for some reason.
Yeah, the Brewdog is. Everyone moans about the matchday experience on the stadium, and it's gone down a notch, even if that was possible, because of the Brewdog experience. But literally, how can I'm lost for words?
Awful decision. Couldn't agree more. Brewdog have signed a huge deal with West Ham, which includes their beer being sold on all the taps inside. So you used to be able to get a nice selection. You basically, I think you get an Amstel and a beer Moretti before, I believe.
Maybe, yeah, something like that.
And now you can only get the Brewdog varieties, which, quite frankly, unless, of course, they're willing to sponsor, I'm not the one. So avoid the beers inside the ground unless you really have to, Mark. Anyway, Jonesy, this was quite enjoyable, weirdly. It's been quite a while since, apart from the Everton one, of course. It's nice to not dread doing the podcast anymore and to just have to feel like you've got nothing else to say other than I don't know where we're going or what the future holds. I don't think this season is going to be spectacular, but I think a bit of stability, and then hopefully we'll have a platform upon which to sort of build and maybe give ourselves half a chance of actually flirting with the top half of the table in seasons to come. Anything else to add, James, before we say goodbye?
No, I think that's me for the week. Just glad we got that one out of the way. We can look forward now.
Yeah, exactly that, mate. Next game is Brentford on Monday, the 20th of October. Jonesy and I will be with you. That will be at the tail end of next week with an opposition view ahead of that Brentford game. We'll have a bit of a chat, the two of us as well, about the protests and what we think about those and the boycott, the planned boycott of that home game in protest against the board. Lots to come. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. Follow us on all on. Let me have another go at that. Follow us all on all of our socials, everyone. Thank you for listening, and subscribe to the YouTube channel and subscribe to our Patreon if you fancy it, for the podcast a day earlier than everyone else and without adverts and with the feel-good factor of supporting me and James, or as James said earlier, don't be tight, which is an interesting marketing strategy. But there is the juxtaposition between the James Jones and Will Pugh approach. Thanks for listening, everyone. West Ham are massive once again. The Nuno era up and running. Can't wait for the rest of it. Up the hammers, and we'll speak to you next week.